Hi, I'm Michael Kurosh. I live in Santa Barbara, California, one of the most beautiful places on earth. My design center is where people come to reimagine their homes and spaces. I work with the best designers, clients with broad tastes, and experts who navigate the fascinating world of design. I'm always excited to learn something new, and I never say no to a challenge. This is Design Santa Barbara. Welcome to Design Santa Barbara. I'm Michael Kurosh, and today we are in Santa Barbara Design Center, where I'm excited to share with you a truly fascinating episode. Over the seasons, we have talked about the numerous eras and styles of design. But this week, we are going to do a deep dive and explore the last 150 years of design and learn what these time periods are so special. Please join us. Our journey begins today with the arts and crafts movement, which many credit as the beginning of modern design. Started in England in the 1880s, the term was first coined by artist Thomas James Cobden Sanderson in 1877. Arts and crafts was a direct response to the Industrial Revolution. Architects such as William Morris and John Ruskin, who believed that the beauty existed in hand-making items with simple, timeless designs. Unlike the Gothic era before it, which focused on ornamentation and intricacy, the arts and crafts removed almost all decorative aspects and made items entirely utilitarian. The movement quickly spread across America, where some bucked the handmade idea for machine working while maintaining the simplicity of the work. From furniture to homes, to wallpaper, the organic approach captivated designers and architects from around the world. In Japan, the movement was known as Mingei and followed a similar trajectory. A shining example of arts and crafts movement is the Awane Hotel in Yosemite National Park. This grand hotel features many of the core tenets of the movement and is one of the most visited locations in the park to this day. Let's look at some more examples of arts and crafts design. As arts and crafts settled into the mainstream, a new design style began to spread. In the 1890s, Art Nouveau entered the mainstream. In contrast with arts and crafts, Art Nouveau proposed the idea that functional items should be indistinguishable from fine arts. This concept led to the rise of designers such as Louis Comfort Tiffany, René Lalique, and Émile Gallé. The decadent and elaborate glass workings are still among the most sought-after decorative objects. In Germany, the Art Nouveau concept of total works of art led to architecture with flowing lines and elaborate woodwork. For artists, this era proved to be transformative. From Gustav Klimt to Toulouse-Lautrec, bold uses of color, typography, and subject matter allowed painters and graphic designers to explore new freedoms in their craft. As the world entered the 20th century, Art Nouveau was embraced by numerous countries and cultures. Let's look at some examples from across the globe. As Art Nouveau began to subside, early modernism became a dominant design trend. Moving back to the concepts first pioneered by arts and crafts, early modernist designers believed that the ornamentation was childish and unnecessary. German designers such as Joseph Hoffmann believed that machine working was evil and valued the craftsmanship of hand-built objects. The Werkbund was a group that promoted form without ornament and encouraged European craftsmen to both partner and compete to improve design. The early modernism movement was shorter-lived than arts and crafts and Art Nouveau, as it was cut off by a machine revolution and a world war. When we come back, the world undergoes a drastic change in the first half of the 20th century, and we will learn how design helped shape the way we have lived since. Stay tuned, there is more Design Santa Barbara after the break. It's been an interesting time for all of us. It was difficult to be separated from the world, but I was incredibly lucky to be able to spend much time with my family. Being home for so long showed us just how important our living spaces are and why proper design is essential. If you are ready to redefine your living space, come in and see me. It would be my honor to help you. We are Santa Barbara Design Center at 410 Olive Street, and we are ready. How many times in the last year have you said to yourself, I really need a new sofa? Spending so much time at home lately, you deserve the most comfortable furniture. At Santa Barbara Design Center's massive showroom, we have numerous selections of sofas and sectionals that you can take home today. Or we can custom build your dream sofa. We make the most comfortable and stylish sofas and sectionals in the industry today. Just ask the top designers in Santa Barbara. They use our sofas and sectionals in their projects because they know clients are beyond satisfied with the results. For a decision as important as this, don't go online or buy from a catalog photo. Come into 410 Olive Street and let our experienced team help you find the perfect fit for your home. Trust me, you want to sit on it before you buy. Today I would like to talk to you about rugs. 3 important things to remember when you are buying a rug. First is the size. Size is very important, and this is what you have to do your study. So if it's for a living room, I recommend to have the front legs of all the furniture to sit on the certain rug you're buying. So go measure it. Make sure you have at least a foot extended beyond the front legs. If you can afford it, get a rug that encompasses all the furniture to be sitting on it. So usually for a living room, you're talking an 8x10, 9x12, a bigger living room, 10x14, and if you want something to sit on it, 12x15 or 12x18. Second, there is a style. It is very important that the style you pick matches the house you have. Check the room. Is it a traditional house? Is it a modern house? Is it a transitional house? You pick the style matching your house and your living style. Lastly, and one of the most important steps, is the type of rug you're gonna buy. I highly recommend you to do your study and see what type of rug is good for your situation. Most rugs I recommend are hand knotted. So these are the type of rugs that they're done by hand. They're mostly natural fibers. They don't have any chemicals. They don't have any machines involved making it. They're hand knotted and they get more valuable over the time, and they're very durable and long lasting. These are 3 things to remember when you're buying a rug. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to Design Santa Barbara. This week we are exploring the last 150 years of design and how it has shaped the world we live in. When we last left off, the planet was on the brink of a war that will redefine life as we know it. In the early years of the 20th century, a major change in the way we manufacture took place. Henry Ford's Model T automobile became the first object to be built using an assembly line. This innovation kicked off a new leg of the Industrial Revolution and allowed designers to rethink the way they produce products. With the start of World War I, the modern design movement came to a grinding halt. countries mobilized all available production into the war effort, and by the time the conflict was over, millions were dead. In the wake of the so-called war to end all wars, people sought new design forms. After Germany's defeat in the war and the establishment of the Weimar Republic, a new optimism spread throughout the country. New education centers began popping up, including the famed Bauhaus School. Here, artists, architects, and designers conceived of a new design style, focusing on geometric shapes such as rectangles and spheres. Objects and buildings from the Bauhaus movement often featured rounded edges, curved walls, and long banks of windows. Furniture incorporated chrome with curved edges. To this day, the Vasily chair is a common sight in homes around the world. We even have them here at Santa Barbara Design Center. Outside of Germany, the trauma of World War I led to a desire for luxury and high fashion, ushering in the Art Deco movement. Starting in France, Art Deco is recognizable by its sharp lines, expensive materials, and ornate accents. Mainly for the wealthy in Europe, as Art Deco expanded across the United States, manufacturers focused on bringing the design form to the middle classes. This was a time of extreme prosperity in the US, known as the Roaring Twenties, most commonly symbolized by the flapper girl and Prohibition. Architecture during the Art Deco era prospered. Skyscrapers such as Empire State Building and Chrysler Building towered over Manhattan skyline, and opulent homes embraced this style across the country. Let's look at some examples of Art Deco architecture. During this era, world events affected design as well. Howard Carter's discovery of King Tut's tomb was a pivotal moment in design and ushered in a renewed interest in ancient Egypt. Blended with Art Deco, Egyptian jewelry, design elements, and architecture took the world by storm. In the midst of worldwide economic prosperity and incredible new forms of design, the unthinkable happened. With the stock market crash of 1929 and the ensuing Great Depression, the evolution of design slowed to a glacial pace. Purchasing went down and manufacturing ceased. To counter the downbeat mood of the world, graphic designers incorporated uplifting messages and fantasy into their advertising. Throughout this era, a titan of design came into his own. World-renowned architect and designer Frank Lloyd Wright transcended multiple eras and styles with his signature organic architecture. His unmistakable designs became some of the most recognizable structures in the world. Let's look at some of his work, while listening to his actual thoughts on architecture and design.
In my youth, nothing existed of the sort that I wanted to see happen. It didn't exist anywhere. It had to be made, and it happened out here on the western prairies of Chicago. The first expression in humane terms of what we call now organic architecture. Organic architecture is an architecture from within outward in which entity is the ideal. We don't use the word organic as referring to something hanging in a butcher shop, you know. Organic means, in philosophic sense, entity, where the whole is to the part as the part is to the whole, and where the nature of the material is the nature of the purpose. The nature of the entire performance becomes a necessity, and out of that comes what significance you can give the building as a creative artist. When you see the old post and beam construction, you can say this is the post and beam, post and beam. There's all a kind of superimposition. And if you wanted partitions, they cut and they would butt, you see, cut, butt, and slash. And if you wanted tension, you had to rivet something to something and make a connection that might give way. Well, the organic architecture brought the principles together so that a building was more like this. You see, you could pull on the structure. It had tensile strength owing to steel. And owing to steel, it could have great spaces. And the great spaces could be protected with glass. These houses built upon this plan are good for 300 years, I should think.
As the world slowly pulled itself out of a global depression, it wasn't long before war once again took hold. An armed conflict beyond all measure, design, industry, and art were once again relegated while nations mobilized their resources. By the end of World War II, much of the industrial world was ravaged, creating an opportunity for new forms of design to take shape. With the return to normal life after World War II, people around the world sought new forms of design to rebuild their countries. The concept of streamlining became popular with automobiles, buildings, and objects taking on a teardrop shape. Americans embraced whole new ideas including suburbs, airstream camping, and jet travel. During this time, design also started to incorporate comfort. Henry Dreyfuss extensively researched the human body in an effort to make furniture more enjoyable. To this day, the Dreyfuss lounge chair is a popular object in households. Dreyfuss was also responsible for many of the most famous utilitarian objects of this era, including the Western Electric Model 500 telephone, the Hoover vacuum, the 20th century limited locomotive, and the Polaroid land camera, all of which incorporated modern streamlined design. As time progressed, designers once again harkened back into the simpler designs of arts and crafts, but with a new spin. The mid-century modern era embraced simple, clean lines and use of basic materials, but unlike previous generations, incorporated machine work to mass produce. What resulted was a new era of furniture, architecture, and fashion. Let's look at some of these examples. When we return, the world of design enters the modern age and goes out of this world. Today on Design FYI, we're going to talk about what not to buy when you're going shopping for rugs. Most big outlets or national chains, they sell nowadays hand-tufted rugs. This sounds like it's hand knotted, it's done by hand, but actually they are not. It's called hand-tufted and is actually a gun that rolls the wool around the warp, and they are not good rugs at all. So this is a sample we're having here for you to see. Anything that has a backing like this, flip your rugs over at home, see if it has a backing, is absolutely not good. So what it does is it hides what they did below this thing, which is a latex glue, which actually is toxin. And if you have got any rugs over the net, I hate to say it, over the net, because it's easy to sell and they're inexpensive, you buy these things over the internet. So when it comes to your house, they smell. Have you noticed that? They smell more like a gasoline or more like a diesel because they don't let the latex cure. And the latex that glues this wool to this backing smells a lot. On top of that, they shed quite a lot. The wool is cheap because they need to be inexpensive, and they shed. I would not recommend you to get anything, again, that has a backing and is glued, because it comes apart very easily. It is temporary. It is not a green product because they wear very quickly, end up in the fill, and just basically as a landfill junk we are adding to our planet. The things I would recommend you to get, unlike these things that have backing, is the rugs that they have nuts to them. So as what to buy, I highly recommend you to get some rugs that they are hand knotted. And how you can see, flip it to the back, and you can see the knots are done individually, and each one is slightly different than the next one because they're done by hand, and the intensity of the wool and the pull they have, the weaver, makes them look different. Also, the sides are done by hand. That you can see very easily. If you want to buy a real rug, please come to Santa Barbara Design Center and I can gladly help you. Thank you for joining us on Design FYI, Santa Barbara Design Center, Fort and Olive. This week on Michael's Minutes, we are going to talk about sectionals. At Santa Barbara Design Center, we will custom build a sectional to your specifications at our factory right here in California. No room is too big or too small. Our line of comfort sectionals are built to the exact size and shape you need for your room. Let you and your family enjoy the luxury of angel hair wrap, the most comfortable seating in the world. Choose from multiple colors and stain-resistant fabrics that can withstand children, pets, and spills. But don't just take my word for it. Come into Santa Barbara Design Center at 410 Olive Street and feel the comfort of a new sectional for yourself. Welcome back to Design Santa Barbara. Today we are exploring the evolution of design over the past 150 years. When we last left off, the entire planet was rejoicing at the end of the largest armed conflict in human history. But big changes were about to come. By the late 1950s, the world focus turned to space. Expanding on mid-century modern design, the space age incorporated futuristic elements into design, including the Sputnik lamp, egg chairs, and vehicles meant to imitate spacecraft. In the second half of the 20th century, the pop art movement took shape. Artists such as Andy Warhol took objects from daily life and turned them into art, while Roy Lichtenstein transformed the daily comics into some of the most expensive works of art ever sold. For the last few decades, scholars have considered us to be in a postmodern world of design. This is highlighted by deconstructivism, the idea that design has no center, no inside, and no outside. Design elements including vibrant colors, asymmetrical forms, and as many say, a certain level of humor. Architects such as Frank Gehry embraced this concept with whimsical structures that subvert centuries of design, while Cesar Pelli strove to create the world's tallest buildings, pushing higher and higher each time. Let's look at some examples of postmodernism from around the world. From arts and crafts to postmodernism, it's incredible to see how the world of design has evolved over the last 150 years. We can only imagine what is coming next. I hope you have enjoyed this look into the history of design. If you would like to learn more, I welcome you to come to Santa Barbara Design Center and tour our vast collection encompassing all eras. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.